Today I want to go over my pitching tips for MLB The Show 25, what I think is most helpful, what I think will make you be the best possible pitcher you can be. My goal with this video is to help out at least one person, so if I did that, I'm going to be happy. I hope I can help out at least one person out there. In the comment section, I want to see your number one pitching tip, any pitching tips that you have, because I'm definitely going to forget things. I'm definitely going to miss things, and I know that y'all are smart. I know that some of y'all are going to have some great tips. Drop your pitching tips down in the comment section. I want the comment section, I want this video to be a place that we can all help each other get better at this game, get better at pitching, be the best that we can be at MLB The Show 25. But start out by being on the main menu and going down to custom practice. That's how I'm going to be practicing today. That's how I'm going to go over the pitching here today. I'm just going to go ahead and face, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and face the Athletics. That's going to be the team that I choose to face here. I'm going to use my favorite team, the Cardinals. If there's any pitcher you want to practice with, you could always feel free to do that as well. But we're going to go into practice mode. Now it's going to default you to pitching at first, but you can always choose the practice type, pitching, fielding, team, if you want to have a full team practice. I'm just going to do pitching practice, but the first place you want to start is going to be settings and then gameplay settings. Now I will say camera, you can choose the camera you want for pitching. A lot of people like to use one similar to their hitting one just so they can see the pitches coming in the same. I would recommend Strike Zone 3, or my personal favorites, I would recommend catcher if you're doing one behind the catcher. But I personally, what I've always done is I like to use the view outfield. That's the view that I've always used for pitching. My in-play view, the fielding view, I use medium. I know some people like retro, broadcast, dynamic, or high. I'm probably going to try some of those, specifically broadcast at some point this year, but I use medium. That's what I'm going to use here today, and that's going to be the camera. But let's talk about the gameplay settings before we actually get into pitching ourselves, because these are going to be important. And if you're trying to be the best possible pitcher that you can be, you're going to want to use Pinpoint. You can still be competitive using Pulse. I know people who have made World Series using Pulse pitching, pure analog pitching, classic pitching, meter pitching. In my opinion, Pinpoint pitching is the best option, the best interface for pitching in MLB The Show. The one that you're going to have overall the most consistency and control with, that's going to be Pinpoint. I would say second best in my opinion is pure analog, and then meter would be third. Probably Pulse fourth, and then probably classic, the least amount of control. But again, I recommend Pinpoint. It's all personal preference, whatever you want to use. But if you learn Pinpoint, if you figure out how to use it, I'm going to say that it's the best pitching interface that you can choose. Now, I use pitch trail for my ball marker. For each pitch trail option, there's going to be a fade or a normal. There's also off if you don't want it on, and then chevrons are the other one. I don't like fade because it disappears. I like just the normal one. I'll show y'all what I use. So if I'm doing a sweeper with Sonny Gray, you can see the path of the pitch. That's going to be the path that this pitch takes. So that's why I like to use that. I'm going to show you the other option, and I'm going to show y'all why I don't like to use it, but I'm going to show y'all the other option. That's going to be the chevron. So let me go ahead and turn on now chevron for y'all. That's going to show the amount that the pitch breaks. You'll see a fastball. Hey, there's nothing, okay? There's nothing for a fastball. But if we do a cutter, you can see that's how much break this pitch is going to have. I've never really liked using those. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I like being able to see the exact path that a pitch has. With chevron, with the par, you can still see that highlighted circle, okay? So if you get a perfect release, it's guaranteed to go in that circle. Okay, it's guaranteed to touch that circle, but I don't like using the chevron. I personally like being able to see the pitch trail, but that's going to be more personal preference. It's going to be about what you like to see. Again, I like the pitch trail, but the little carrots were the chevron that we were just showing. But now for actual Pinpoint pitching, and again, this is what I would recommend. I want to talk first about the basics of Pinpoint pitching. So you select a pitch. Each pitch has their own traits, okay? If we're taking a look at that, we can see, hey, watch this. It went up and then down. That's exactly what we need to do. We need to go at the exact same speed the game showed me. When you're at the top, you can let your stick go down to the middle. A lot of people don't know this, but you don't have to rest it at the top. You can go ahead and trace that motion that we saw and drop it down to the middle while you're waiting for the pitch. If you feel more comfortable leaving it at the top, hey, do that. You don't have to set it down to the middle. I always set it down to the middle because that leaves me less area to pull down. because of the very end of Pinpoint. You notice that circle on the bottom that's changing the location of it based on the location of our pitch. If it's left, it's going to move left. If it's right, it's going to move right. The sweeper automatically goes here, so that's going to be more in the middle. But I copy the motion. I have that circle that we go to at the top, okay? You want to trace it to that circle up at the top. So I'm just, again, going through the basics of Pinpoint. We watch that motion. We get it to the top. I let mine release to the middle. You can keep it up at the top as you want it to, but it's personal preference. I like having mine drop down to the middle so that I'm able to have less distance to cover to pull down. And you're pulling down to that circle on the bottom, okay? That's when the pitcher's releasing the ball. You want to time it up with that. I know some people kind of watch the pitcher. I'm always watching that little diagram in the middle. I always trace that motion like it was. I let mine drop, and then right when those circles close, is exactly when you want to throw your pitch, okay? You trace the motion to the top, and then you pull down exactly. I'm also surprised that these, maybe it doesn't call it a strike. But anyways, you pull it down right when those circles are closing. Right when they close, you want to try to pull it down. That's exactly what you're trying to do for Pinpoint pitching, is you trace the motion, you go to that circle on the top, and then right when they close is when you want to pull it down. So that's the basics of Pinpoint. I would recommend just trying to get that down, trying to practice every pitch. Okay, go through a pitcher with a lot of pitches. Sonny Gray's actually a pretty good one. He's got a fastball, he's got a sinker, he's got a curveball, a cutter, a sweeper. You might want to find somebody like Ohtani that also has a splitter, but I would highly recommend making sure you got the Pinpoint basics down. Make sure you know what you're doing. I think that's the hardest part. Once you understand it, though, you trace the motion exactly how it showed you. You go to the top, and then when the blue circles close, I know I'm really going over this. I'm being a little bit redundant, but that's the best way to understand Pinpoint pitching. That's really the biggest thing for pitching. If you can get that down with Pinpoint, you're going to be good. And that's just the overall control. That's to get the feel for pitching. But I think the next big important thing is to talk about pitching strategy. But now that we're going to talk about strategy, I want to make sure we actually have a batter for practice type. I'm doing pitching and I'm enabling the batter. I'm making sure we have a batter. I'm just going to have it be a righty, Brent Rooker, just so we can kind of talk about pitching like that. It's going to depend on the situation. And my number one tip for hitting was actually getting practice, actually getting reps in. That's probably going to be, once you've gotten the basics of Pinpoint down, I would say my overall tip for pitching is getting practice in. I don't really recommend practice mode. I recommend actual ranked seasons, battle royale, events if you don't want to impact your record, your BR runs, you don't want to enter stubs for that. I would highly recommend, actually, if you're trying to be good online, one of my number one tips, both for hitting but here today pitching, one of my number one tips is going to actually be playing the game. Not practice mode. Franchise is fine, but if you're trying to get good against real people, if you're trying to get good online play, my number one recommendation is going to be actually playing the game online. Now, something that I really hope y'all can help me out with in the comment section is explaining pitch tunneling. I used to be a pitcher when I played. It was always my favorite position. I always felt like I was good at it too. But what I did was I let the catcher call the game, and I did exactly what the catcher said. I threw the pitch that he wanted me to. I threw it in the location that he wanted me to. I trusted my catcher more than myself to make decisions. But pitch tunneling, I really hope y'all can help me explain it in the comment section, because I feel like I never do a good job at accurately explaining it. The way that I understand pitch tunneling is the ball is coming out of the pitcher's hand in the same way. So let's say I throw a fastball up and in like this. We could see that release point with the pitch trail, right? And I'm going to go ahead, and you can press L1 when you're in a pitch to cancel it, but I'm going to go ahead. So we can see the way the ball's coming in right there with the four-seam fastball. It's kind of doing that little curve to the top of the zone. We can see the release point. I'm going to press L1, the left bumper, to cancel my pitch. If I wanted to pitch tunnel that with a sinker, I would try to do something that's coming in the same way. So I don't think it's necessarily the exact same location. That's used to be what I think it was, but I'm going to go a little bit more inside because it's going to look like it's a fastball coming in. You want to try to make it look like it was the same pitch as before coming in, but then all of a sudden it breaks inside. So let's say now maybe we wanted to try to do this with a curveball, okay? We want to try to get something that's coming in similar. So I'm going to try to do something more right here because it's the same release point. It's kind of coming in at the same angle, but you can see when that break starts kind of up here on the trail is what I'm looking at. When that break is starting, that's going to be what's different. It's coming in the same way. It's coming in on the same path. So the batter's seeing it in on the same way. But then that break is what's going to be different. The fastball comes in straight. That sinker's breaking inside. The curveball's breaking down. So pitch tunneling, making the pitch look like it's the same pitch coming in. We do a cutter outside right there. Okay, the batter's going to see that. And then maybe, so we have this cutter going that way. It's kind of a straight on type of thing, but then it cuts at the end. Maybe I want to do a sinker. We can see it's more of a straight on type of thing. That's going to be the same general area, maybe a little bit lower though. So I'm really just trying to get the pitch to look like it's coming in the same way. And for me, that's the way that I understand pitch tunneling. I always get comments every year that explain it way better than I do. So if you're curious on more information, better information about pitch tunneling, I would look towards the comment section on this video. I'm really hoping that y'all can help me out. Again, any pitching tips in general, please drop in the comment section. I want this to be a place that we all help each other. And along with pitch selection and location, I would recommend don't get predictable. If you've ever watched me play this game before, when I do the worst is I get predictable. I'm always throwing inside until I get 2 strikes, and then I try to go away. I just get way too predictable. A big tip for pitching that I have is don't get predictable. You do not want to be predictable on the mound. You always want to keep your enemy, your opponent, on their toes. I don't like leaving it up. It's good to mix up pitches sometimes. You don't want to throw it down the middle as much as you can. Avoid throwing it down the middle. You don't really want to hang pitches, but really don't be predictable. You don't want to have the same sequence to the same batters over and over. You want to switch it up. You want to switch up speeds, locations. As much as you can, don't get predictable. But also, try to learn. As you play, you'll notice, okay, my opponent can't seem to catch up to the inside fastballs. That doesn't mean I'm only going to throw that, but maybe try to rely on that a little bit more often. Again, it's kind of a carefully curated mixture of don't get too predictable, but also figure out what your opponent's weaknesses are. If you've been consistently pounding them inside, or maybe most at bats righty you were to start out inside, okay, hey, next righty at bat, if I've started everybody else with a pitch inside, this time I'm going to go a pitch outside. And one of the pitches I like to throw to try not to be predictable is on a 2-0 count. Say I fell behind a hitter. A lot of people 2-0, 3-0 are going to expect a fastball down the middle. I like to do a breaking ball. 2-0, I'm going to go a breaking ball outside, typically a splitter or a changeup. Sonny Gray doesn't have one of those, but you could see he was geared up for a fastball. He's way too early on that. Again, it's going to be so much different playing against a real person, but I would say don't be predictable. Try to figure out your opponent's weaknesses, but also throw other pitches than what you know your opponent is bad against, because eventually they're going to see that pitch enough, they're going to figure it out, you're going to make a mistake, they're going to make a good swing. So that was against a right-handed hitter. I want to go ahead and get a left-handed hitter now in the batter's box. Righty versus lefty. This is one of the things I struggle with. I hate throwing the ball down the middle or inside to a lefty. Sometimes it can be good. Now, this is something I probably should have mentioned earlier in the video because I think it applies to lefties and righties. I think it's a big tip in general, and you'll notice this if you hit. It's easy sometimes to keep the PCI in the middle because that's where it starts, but it's easy to slam the PCI like up, down, maybe even to one of the corners. I think it's good to throw it on the corners, but like you don't want to leave the pitch, if you can help it, in the middle part of the plate. The middle inside, the middle outside, and the middle down low, the middle up top. That's where the PCI, I'm pretty sure, is going to be the biggest, but especially in this center part of the strike zone. So if you're throwing low, I would recommend not throwing it low and middle. It's okay to throw that pitch sometimes, but I would try, if you can, to really try to get it on one of the corners instead. Again, you don't want to be predictable. The pitch location matters, and you got to think about your opponent hitting, especially in online play. It might be easy for them to slam the PCI down middle because all they got to do is pull it down. I have found that the PCI seems to be bigger on pitches right in that middle part of the plate. So if I'm throwing a breaking ball, you don't need to go all the way to the corner, but think about when you're hitting. think about what's the hardest for you to hit. It's probably going to be a pitch that's maybe kind of low and in. It's not going to be that one on the corner. It's not going to be that one in the middle. It's going to be something in between there where you have to be as precise as possible while you're hitting. That's going to be one of the hardest things for you to do. If you just got a dotted up pitch like that, your opponent watched it, they're going to have that in their mind. They're going to be like, okay, wow, that's a good cutter. So if he throws a cutter there, I might have to swing at it. So you might want to then throw a cutter, the same pitch or something similar, more inside, and they might be more likely to swing at. It's kind of similar to if you throw maybe, say, a fastball. And this is kind of where I think the pitch tunneling comes into play. Okay, so I threw a fastball in the outside corner. That wasn't great. He hit it pretty well. But then maybe I painted the corner for a strike. Okay, next I'm going to go to a sinker kind of on that corner, but try to run it away outside. And that's just a big thing with pitching, is trying to make your opponent make mistakes. Don't get predictable. If you threw something, maybe try to use that to your advantage to make them think it's coming again, but boom, all of a sudden it's out of the zone. All of a sudden you have them chasing a pitch, something like that. But now I want to go ahead and change the pitching to team practice. We're going to be pitching with Sonny Gray. We're going to have Blade. I'm not repeating the situation. I'm just going to have it be kind of like a normal at bat. And now it should go through hitters based on the ABs. So you could get some practice versus righties, some practice versus lefties. This might be a decent way to do it. We just got him swinging at that cutter, so I just threw something outside. Typically for me, okay, we see in the bottom right the count is 0-1. I would probably throw an inside sinker. Ideally, it's not going to be in the zone. I would jam him, something like that. That's going to be my ideal result right there. I'm trying to jam him because we just threw the outside. Now for me, the way that I typically start on a lefty is I like to do a sinker low and away. I don't really like to do it on the corner because, like I said, I like to kind of get it in between, but I want it to be in the zone, just not down the middle. So I try to aim for that corner to start a lefty, even not on the first pitch of an AB. That's a pitch that I like to throw to lefties more often. I threw that sinker there. You could maybe kind of pair it with the fastball. It might also be good to start with the fastball, okay? Because if you do that, then you could do the sinker running away. If you're throwing those outside pitches, I wish Sonny Gray had a changeup or a splitter so I can maybe show y'all. I'll try to do it with the curveball though, trying to get it lower than that spot in the zone. This isn't really pitch tunneling. This is just kind of using that same spot in the zone. Maybe my opponent's looking there. They were just seeing some hard stuff. I go to the soft stuff. They're way early on it. But if you're in custom practice, you might want to do team practice, and I would recommend having it be no repeats and just having it actually, so that way you're just going through the batters. It's kind of like an actual game scenario. Again, my number one tip would be just get reps in. Go into online play, events, BR, ranked seasons maybe specifically. Don't care about your record. Your record does not matter. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. What happens if you lose? Who cares? It's not like it really does not matter if you're trying to get better at the game. Don't care if you win or lose. Just care about getting better. Try to realize, okay, I know when I pitch, I throw too many meatballs. I throw too many strikes. I don't try to get my opponent chasing enough. I don't take my own advice. I don't try to get my opponent's weaknesses in my head. I'm just throwing what I want to throw. I get predictable, and I understand it's messed up. If I wanted to get better, I would probably be taking my own advice. But at the end of the day, I would say actually getting reps in are going to be kind of the number one thing that helps you. And I would say don't care if you win or lose, just care about getting better at the game. But that's really all the pitching advice that I have. Same with my hitting tips. I'm really hoping on this video we can use it to all help each other. I'm really hoping that we can see in the comments questions and answers, tips from y'all, things that I didn't mention, better explanation for things that I did mention, like pitch tunneling. I really want this video to be a helpful place for being the best that we can possibly be at pitching in MLB The Show. I want us all to get better together. I'm hoping this video helped down at least one person. If it did, I'm happy with that. I'm glad that I made it. As always, feel free to drop a like if you enjoyed. Maybe consider subscribing for daily uploads. You might enjoy a video that pops up on screen, another on the channel, but we're going to be daily uploading all MLB The Show 25 long. I can't wait to see y'all there, and hopefully I'll see you in tomorrow's daily upload.